Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Dread Time Stories. I'm your host, Dr. Phobia, and tonight, as you can tell by the title, it's the return of Truly Terrifying. Now, two quick things before we get started. I know this video is about a week and some change overdue, and the reason for that is I had one of my friends back out. They decided they didn't want their story on the internet, which, for this individual, it was a traumatic experience, and it's completely understandable. And the second thing, the other two volumes I read in a third-person perspective. Well, for this one and future episodes, I'm going to read these in a first-person perspective. So, without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy tonight's tale, Truly Terrifying, Volume 3. So, this story is one of the scariest experiences that happened to me in my entire life. Now, granted, this was just back in 2016, and we haven't had any experiences like this in 2017, but I'm warning you guys to be careful out there. So, let me explain exactly what I'm talking about. I work second shift at a company that makes automotive parts. Now, it's about a good 25 minutes from my house, but the pay is good and the job is pretty mindless, so it really doesn't bother me too much on the drive. So, I got a text from my phone, from one of my apps, telling me that there was a major accident on the highway, so I would have to take the back roads home. Wonderful, I thought. It's raining, and the roads are nice and twisty, so this is gonna be fun in my little Ford Ranger. So I start the truck and leave work. Now, everything's going good for about the first 10 to 12 minutes or so. Then, as I come around a blind curve, something just appears in the road. I swerved as hard as I could to the right to miss it, and ended up spinning the truck out. I come to a complete stop and send a little prayer to the man upstairs, telling him thank you for keeping me safe. And as I do, I about crapped my pants, because standing in the middle of the road is a freaking clown. He's got the makeup on his face, he's wearing what looks like a onesie with oversized blue buttons, and he's wearing a party hat. In his right hand is a metal pipe, and he's dragging it slowly behind him as he closes the gap between himself and my truck. Without even a moment's hesitation, I screamed out loud and cut the wheel as hard as I could and spun the truck the other direction, and I put the pedal to the floor. But to my horror, I heard a clank from behind me and felt the suspension sag a bit. And when I looked in the rearview mirror, this thing was literally holding on to the tailgate and standing on my bumper. He swung his right leg over first, and then his left. Now there was literally less than 6 foot of truck bed and a pane of glass between this psychopath and yours truly. As he started to take a few steps closer, I was panicking. I didn't know what to do at first, and then it hit me. I decided I was just going to slam on the brakes and see what happens. So, I lifted my foot off the gas and mashed it hard on the brake. He took a few steps forward and fell onto the roof of my truck. At least his top half did. I could hear the pipe actually clank against the roof, and before he even had a chance to do anything else, I stomped down on the gas again. He started swinging his arms and falling backwards, and his legs caught on the tailgate and he flipped out of the back. I didn't even take any time to stop. I just kept right on going. I got about 5 or so miles down the road and called the police. They told me to wait there, but to watch my surroundings, and if that clown showed up again, to haul ass out of there as quickly as possible. When the police arrived, I rode with them in their cruiser back to where the clown was. All that was found was his mashed up party hat and the pipe. Unfortunately, though, a few weeks later when the police got back to me on the investigation, they found no fingerprints on either the pipe or the party hat. So this dude got off scot-free. Like I said previously, we're in 2017 now, and knock on wood, none of these events have happened yet. But still, be careful out there, guys. So this story is short, but I gotta say, it still gives me nightmares to even think about this. When the doc asked me about some stories, I figured I'd bring this one up. So I've never been one to work for anybody else. I've always had that entrepreneurial mindset. So right out of high school, I owned a pickup already and had access to a trailer. So I decided to haul junk away for people. I figured, I could charge a small fee, a lot cheaper than most of the national companies, and, sell what I could as far as scrap and items at flea markets that were actually in good shape. I got a call one day from a credit union in town saying that they had a house that was going into foreclosure and they wanted it cleaned out because after that it was headed to sheriff's sale, most likely, due to condition. So I agreed, and the only reason I took the job was because most of these financial institutions paid very well for work like this. So I get over there and just realize how big of a job this actually was. I mean, we are talking floor to ceiling in every room in the house. So I get to work. About day 3, I finally make it to the garage and notice that there is a chest freezer in the back corner. So, cringing a little at what I'm going to find in there, probably old meat and things of that nature, I decide to save that for the very end. Now, at the beginning of day 4, I actually make it to the freezer, and I had a friend of mine that was an HVAC technician come over to actually cut the Freon line, drain it, and tag it, which is exactly what you're supposed to do in that kind of situation. Well, as we're moving the freezer, one of us slips and it falls on its side. And to our horror, old steak and chicken does not fall out, but the slowly decomposing body of a man that looks to be in about his early 30s or maybe early 40s. My friend and I both scream and run out of the garage, where we both sit there while I call 911 to have the police come out and investigate this. It turned out at some point that the former owner of this house was not only late on paying his mortgage, but apparently he had a Camaro at one point, and this poor soul was actually the repo man come to take it back. Later on, after a full investigation, the police found this poor guy's repo van stashed all the way in the back of the property. So, no wonder the guy fled in the middle of the night. He couldn't pay his bills, and he killed somebody. People like that just make me sick. Needless to say, I don't do that kind of work anymore. Though it's a little harder, I decided to switch to landscaping, and knock on wood, it's been one of the best changes I've ever made. I live in an old farmhouse with my family, and it was built around 1890 or the early 1900s, somewhere in between there. Anyway, there's always been weird occurrences that have happened in the house, such as things going missing, odd sounds, whatever, but for a long time we used to just think it was the fact it was an old house. But about 4 years ago, I had an experience that really changed that for me, and I don't think it's something that can be explained. Anyway, let me set the scene for you a little bit. My room is on the second floor. Now, when this used to be a farmhouse, this is where all the children slept. It's a hallway-style room, if you will. It's an A-frame that's directly connected to the roof, so in the summer it's ungodly hot, and in the winter it's ungodly cold. But it's a good-sized room. It's probably about a 27 by 15, so definitely a good-sized space. Now, my bed is in the back corner of the room and faces the door, which is on the opposite side. The door is what's known as a half view. That means the top half of the door is a clear pane of glass. That way you can see in or out. So, for privacy reasons, I threw up a sheet, but you can't block out everything, so you can still make out silhouettes in the room as well as outside the room. Now, hold that last sentence I just said firmly in your mind because it's very important for this next part. So, it was about 2 in the morning on some weekend night when I woke up to go downstairs to get something to drink. As I crossed the room and made my way over to the door, I saw movement in the bottom right-hand corner, so I stopped and took a closer look. And that's when I realized it was condensation on the door in a perfect circle, almost as if somebody was standing there breathing on the glass. But I can tell you this, there was no one there. I couldn't see a silhouette on the other side of the door, and I knew no one could crouch down and breathe up on it due to the angle that the condensation was forming. So I was officially freaked out and quietly made my way back to bed, crawled in, pulled the covers up to my chin, and lay there perfectly still for at least another hour until I finally dozed back off. I didn't dare leave my room until the rays of sun filled it and provided me with a little bit more comfort. The next day I told my friends and family what had happened, and none of them believed me. But I convinced them to do some tests with me, just for my own sake, and we tried every way in the world to repeat the condensation, and the only way we found to do it was to have someone stand there and breathe directly on the glass. That, dear patients, was Truly Terrifying, Volume 3. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for listening. Like I always say in closing, check under your bed, look in your closet, and sleep with the light on. The life you save may very well be your own. Good night, everyone.